A very good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 2. I'm Raymond Ita and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Let's take a look at the day's headlines. Vice President Yemi Osibanjo to speak at Mo Ibrahim Pope Francis and Hungary visit dominated by Ukraine war. We will bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. President Yemi Osibanjo is set to depart Abuja for Nairobi, Kenya, where he will participate in the 2023 Mo Ibrahim Governance Weekend with the theme Global Africa. In a statement by spokesperson Lalo Akande, the Vice President is expected to be one of the guest speakers at the forum. According to the statement, Osibanjo will attend the IGW Africa Leadership of Africa's Weight in the World, highlighting the continent's assets and potentials. Is also expected to hold a bilateral meeting with Ruto and the British Minister of State for Development and Africa, Andrew Mitchell. The forum will be attended by leaders from Africa and across the world. And now to Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has said that over 60,000 soldiers were recruited under his watch, noting that his administration funded the military to ensure an increase in the fighting power of the Nigerian army. President Buhari stated this at the Nigerian Army Trooping and Presentation of Colors Parade 2023 at the Eagle Square in Abuja. According to him, the country's interventions and budgetary allocation to the army between 2020 and 2022 alone has been able to procure hundreds of mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, troops-carrying vehicles, utility vehicles, tanks and armored personnel carriers to augment those earlier procured from 2017 to 2022. The president further noted that 2015 and enabled troops to take the battle to the terrorists and criminals, particularly in the northeast. He added that his administration had demonstrated commitment to increase the strength of the armed forces in its resolve to secure the country against all challenges.
With a significant improvement in the fighting power, accordingly, the Army has restructured the conduct of its operations to meet current realities. The quantum of platforms induced into the Army since 2015 had enabled troops to take the battle to the terrorists and criminals, particularly in the northeast, resulting in the recapture and enhance their zeal to discharge their constitutional mandate. Furthermore, in line with my resolve to cater for the families of deceased personnel, over 50,000 children and wards of personnel who died in active service are on the Nigerian Army Scholarship from 20.
Away from that, the federal government has expressed worry over the lingering abuse of the expatriate quota policy by local and foreign companies, saying stiffer punishment would be meted out to the violators. The chairman, Tax Force and Expatriate Quota Administration in Nigeria, under the Ministry of Interior, Bola Ilori, stated this to newsmen after he led a delegation on an inspection of some companies in Rivers State. Ilori said the idea of the policy was to ensure that Nigerians were not shortchanged, pointing out that the country must benefit from the activities of the expatriates present in the country. He also stressed that for every expatriate that comes into the country, 2 Nigerians must be employed to understudy them. Reports say expatriate quota is an approval granted to companies by the government to allow them to engage foreign. Meanwhile, the federal government has said that the Nigerian Air Force now will commence the airlifting of Nigerian evacuees from Egypt today. It said the Nigerian Air Force, Air Peace and other airlines have received clearance to fly to Egypt. Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Janet Olisa noted that the NAF C-130H is scheduled to leave Abuja today to commence the airlifting of the evacuees. The government also added that arrangements are being concluded to airlift all Nigerians that have already escaped on their own to safety in other neighboring. Director and Chief Executive, Nigerian Export Promotion Council (NEPC), Ezra Yakusak, says the council has set a target to generate over $5 billion from non-oil exports in 2023. The NEPC boss also disclosed that the country's non-oil products export amounted to $1.34 billion in the first quarter of the year, representing an increase of 8.50% over the $1.24 billion recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2022. According to him, the sector recorded $4.82 billion in non-oil export earnings last year, which represented an increase of 39.91% compared to 2020, disbursement of 308.45 billion naira worth of promissory notes to 199 exporting companies under the Export Expansion Grant (EEG) scheme had also commenced. Elsewhere, the federal government has revealed that it is compiling reports from the 36 states nationwide as part of efforts to determine the extent of damage from the flooding of 2022 and to provide relief for affected persons and states. Jigawa State Governor Mohammed Abubakar disclosed this to newsmen at the council chambers of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Abubakar, who chairs the ad hoc committee on flooding, said 16 states had submitted reports showing the extent of damage occasioned by nationwide flooding during the last rainy season. They include Osun, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, Kogi, Delta, Kwara, Nasarawa, Adamawa, Gombe, Taraba, Yobe, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Kebbi, and Sokoto states. 172,000 people displaced, while 201 had died and 108 were injured. Recall that in October 2022, President Buhari directed the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, to lead and coordinate with the Ministries of Environment and Transportation and state governments to develop a comprehensive plan of action for preventing flood disaster nationwide in 90 days. Let's move on. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has commended the federal government on the 40% salary increase for workers in the country. This was part of resolutions at the end of the National Administrative Council meeting of the NLC. The union, in a statement jointly signed by the NLC President Joe Ajaero and its Secretary General Emmanuel Ogbuaja, they will take immediate disciplinary action against all officers who are currently working with some state governors to flagrantly defy the orders of the National Administrative Council and the Central Working Committee, as it concerns the outcome of the State Delegates Conference. On security matters now, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, has said that of society. Irabor, who was represented by the Director, Training Defense Headquarters, Tanko Pani, spoke at the opening ceremony of a two-day workshop titled Use of Broadcasting in Complementing the Military in Conflict Mitigation and Conflict Management. The defense chief noted that an all-of-society approach is required to end the insecurity bedeviling the country. He highlighted some security challenges faced by the country, as well as illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, cybercrimes, among others. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Solomon Arase, a former Inspector General of Police, has announced plans by the Commission to set up a complaints response unit with officials of a civil society organization, Clean Foundation, and the national leadership of the Nigeria Union of Journalists in Abuja. Now, according to a statement by the spokesperson for the PSC, Ikechukwu, Arase said a police force that does not connect with the public or respect human rights will find it difficult to succeed, noting that the Commission would do everything possible to improve the services of the police. To education matters now, a total of 364 blind candidates are to sit for the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination in 11 centers across the nation. Chairman, JAM Equal Opportunity Group, Peter Okebukola, had made this known while providing the highlights of the 2023 examination in Abuja, commended the JAM registrar, Ishak Oloyede, for the special arrangements for this category of Nigerians, saying the goal of the Oloyede-led JAM was to ensure that no eligible Nigerian is prevented from taking the UTME, regardless of disability. It disclosed that from 2017, the GEOG had processed about 2,600 visually impaired candidates for the UTME, with over a third admitted to courses of their choice in higher education institutions in Nigeria, mainly universities, adding that the initiative had been cited in the last 4 years in several countries as a good model for Africa. According to report and 29, 2023, under the supervision of the JAM Equal Opportunity Group. Let's go to Africa now, where rival factions of Sudan's military have agreed to renew a 3-day ceasefire shortly before it was due to expire. But the extension for another 72 hours follows intensive diplomatic efforts by neighboring countries, as well as the US, the UK, and the UN. Truce allow thousands of people to attempt to flee to safety, while dozens of countries have tried to evacuate their citizens. Well, almost 2 weeks of fighting between the army and rival paramilitary group have reportedly left hundreds of people dead. Meanwhile, the UK says Gals Lever, its ambassador, said that from Addis Ababa, Lever will lead the UK's diplomatic efforts in the region to bring fighting to an end in Sudan. The UK authorities said so far 6 flights had evacuated 536 British nationals from Sudan. But there has been criticism of the slowness of the UK's government evacuations compared with other Western countries. On the foreign scene, Pope Francis has reportedly arrived in Hungary today for a 3-day visit, likely to be dominated by the war in Ukraine, his first full trip to the country since he became Pope 10 years ago, and he will be meeting with Nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The 86-year-old Argentine pontiff will only stay in the capital Budapest during his trip, due to his Ukraine. Well, on Saturday, the Pope will be meeting with the poor, homeless and Ukrainian refugees and will also hold an open-air mass in Kossuth Square on Sunday before his departure. Well, according to more reports, Francis is the second Pope to visit Hungary after Pope John Paul II made trips in 1991 and 1996. But still on the foreign scene, the U.S. has announced plans to open new migrants processing centers in Colombia and Guatemala as part of efforts to get access to assistance such as refugee settlement, processing, and family reunification. U.S. officials said between 5,000 and 6,000 people are expected to be processed a month, but it will be scaled up, noting that Spain and Canada have also agreed to take a number of those applying. The U.S. also announced plans to double or triple the number of deportation flights to some countries at the end of COVID-era processing rules in May. And you're watching Spectrum TV News at 2. Still to come in the news. Fiorentina to face... Many thanks for staying with us. And now on the business news, the president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Adesina Adedayo, has said that Nigeria needs the right tax and fiscal policies to develop economically. Speaking during a press briefing ahead of its 25th annual tax conference scheduled to take place in Abuja with the theme Nigeria of the Future, Achieving Sustainable Development Through Taxation, Adedayo said for Nigeria to effectively develop economically, it must get the tax and fiscal policies right. As a nation, he said the country was confronted by several economic challenges that challenged its corporate existence. These challenges, he said, ranged from declining revenue from the sales of... Still in business, the Nigerian Exchange Limited has continued its upward movement with a 75 billion naira gain for investors. The all-share index moved up by 0.26% to 52,235 naira. Similarly, the market capitalization appreciated by 0.26% to 28.442 trillion naira. Market activity showed trade turnover moderated relatively to the previous session, as the volume and value of transactions went down. To the health sector now, where the Delta State government has urged for partnership with the media and all stakeholders to deepen awareness on the dangers posed by tuberculosis in the state. The call was made by the Director, Department of Public Health, Ministry of Health, Dr. Christian Tetsola in Asaba, during a one-day training workshop for journalists and media workers by the State Ministry of Health. In collaboration with its technical partners, the prevalence of tuberculosis was alarming and taking a high dimension in the state. He noted that there was an urgent need to mobilize committed efforts of all stakeholders to spread awareness and educate the people on the likely dangers posed by the airborne disease. He said that tuberculosis, if detected, tuberculosis must be intensified if positive results must be achieved. He expressed the state government's displeasure over the poor attitude of the people in utilizing public health facilities in the state. According to him, most people shy away from undergoing test and treatment regimen that would aid in early detection and check the spread of the disease. In the meantime, Anambra State government says malaria-related under-5 death rate has reduced from 77.8% to 14.3% from February 2020 at a news conference. The commissioner urged residents to always make use of mosquito-treated nets, clean the environment, as well as clear bushes to prevent malaria. He also advised residents to visit hospitals for proper diagnosis and treatment of malaria, noting that the state government had subsidized the cost of treatments, especially for children. They progressed 2-0 on aggregate. It was a game of very few chances as 6-time winners Fiorentina comfortably held their opponents at bay. Ricardo Sotil went close to scoring a late winner for Fiorentina, but was unable to connect with a corner at the far post. Meanwhile, Fiorentina will play Inter at Rome Stadio Olimpico on the 24th of May. The Tuscan side have not won a major trophy since the last time they claimed the Coppa Italia in 2001. Still in sports, Song Heung-min scored a 79th-minute equalizer to complete a fine Tottenham Hotspur's 2-2 comeback against Manchester United in Ryan Mason's first game back as interim boss. United looked to be coasting to a 4th straight Premier League win after goals from Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford put them in a commanding position at half-time. Pedro Porro launched a fight back before Bruno Fernandes hit the bar for United when he should have scored. Well, Son equalized from close range after good work by Harry Miller into 5th place, while United now trail 3rd place Newcastle by 2 points after the Magpies won 4-1 at Everton. On our entertainment news, Nollywood actor Yul Edochie has officially broken silence at the death of his son Kambi, about 1 month after the 16-year-old passed on. In a tribute on his verified Facebook page, the actor said his late son made his mark despite living for 16 years. Edochie, however, said he could not question God but prayed him to rest the soul of his late son. Still on entertainment, Nigerian filmmaker Kemi Adetiba has returned with 3 new projects following the release of a last project titled King of Boys, The Return of the King in 2021. The filmmaker, who teased the forthcoming project online, named them to be King of Boys 3, To Kill a Monkey and Welcome to the Fourth. This is the first mention of the latter, but Adetiba announced the 3rd part of the blockbuster series King of Boys earlier this year. Well, that's all we have for you at this time. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms and do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, all of these you can find, just search on our website, spectrumtv.ng. And you've been watching the news at 2. Thanks for joining us. I'm Raymond Ita. Good afternoon.